So how long did it take from when you let's say when you actually started talking to them, how long until things got like serious and you were getting like deposed?
It was from first conversation all the way through when it was like a 4 or 6 hour deposition, which is essentially you're not in a courtroom, but you are in like an office building type room with about this much room under really bright lights with your lawyer, the DA, and a court stenographer. I think that's the word for it.
Yeah.
And
they record it too, or just
they record it and everything.
Yeah.
And the DA grills you just like if you're on the stand.
Oh yeah.
And they grill you
sometimes
hard.
even more aggressive.
Yep.
Like,
and your lawyer,
yeah.
your lawyer can jump in and interject like objections or corrections. But for the most part, it's just you and the DA, and you're going one-on-one. From that to everything's filed, it was like a couple months.
Pretty quick.
That part of it moved very fast.
Which you think, like, I'm surprised for New York State because it's in their best interest to drag their feet with it. They could go on forever. So I'm impressed it went that quick.
In the scope of court cases, I know I've learned a lot being now part of the legal process. On the outside looking in, you're like, man, why can't this be done in a couple months? Court cases usually take years, like 3 to 5 years to settle a court. 3 years is considered fast. So the fact that we're where we are now is actually, even with the Second Circuit that took a longer amount of time to issue their ruling on the injunction, this is still very, very fast.
Did FPC like lie in for this? Did they use like a local guy for the deposition part of it, or do you?
It's a combination. So they both, like about it, live streamed it with lawyers that were in other parts of the country, as well as with local law.
Gotta have probably like a guy on the ground, like admitted to the bar in New York or in that court,
Yeah,
right?
you need to do in New York. You need people licensed in the state of New York.
Yeah.
Just like when it reaches the Supreme Court, you're going to need people on the Supreme Court Bar Association.
Do you think something like the SAFE Act could ever be changed in court, or is that too far gone?
Currently,
It's being challenged.
Yeah.
It is currently Lane versus James. It was filed. That one started 6 to 8 months behind mine, and that's still going through local New York State court. So you have steps. You first have to go through a New York State court. After New York State court, you go to federal district circuit court. Let's throw more words into these names. After that, you go to Supreme Court. So New York State court affects only New York State. The federal district court, New York State is part of the second. Any decision in that affects any state in the Second Circuit. So I want to say with the Second Circuit, it's New York State. I want to say it is Connecticut, and there's one other state. I think it's Vermont or New Hampshire. There's one other. Out west, California, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the Ninth Circuit. That covers like from almost Colorado to the west, because it's going sort of based upon population and geographic area.
Okay.
So right now, my decision, the others, if Connecticut was trying to pull some similar funky stuff, this affects them. Supreme Court affects the entire country. Now, right now, there's also in the state of Connecticut a lawsuit over Connecticut's assault weapons ban. If they are successful, even at the federal court level, that would apply then to New York State.
Wow.
So what goes on in other states can affect us here. We can affect other states to a certain extent. Even like we're not directly part of the Ninth Circuit, but California, if you see the news, California, shortly after New York, tried their own version of the CCA, and they just had a federal judge issue a complete injunction on it, using a lot of the logic and reasoning and things cited in the court cases going on here. So even though it's run to a free state, is what people say, what goes on affects other parts of the country.